This is my messy, empty childhood bedroom. And today, I'm gonna be completely transforming it into my dream room. But unfortunately, it won't be that easy because recently my apartment flooded and I was forced to move out, giving me only 4 days to build my dream bedroom back in my old home before I have to move back in. So I woke up bright and early on day 1, as the first step of this whole process is completely destroying my floor, because honestly, this doesn't look very good. The original owners painted over pristine hardwood, and currently it's my objective to absolve this heinous sin to my room. So my dad and I went to Home Depot and rented an industrial sander, which would turn out to be more difficult than you would expect. After moving everything out of my room, we started the lengthy process of deleting the paint layer off of my floors. I worked all day on this, from morning until dusk, and I put so much elbow grease into this insane DIY project. But unfortunately, I ran into a pretty big issue. It's not done. It's just not. I'm not gonna risk anything pushing my time back with a big sander. Any small details I'm gonna finish with a small hand sander, which is gonna be a bitch. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. It's fine. I only had 12 hours with the sander, and I was gonna be charged out my butt if I didn't get it back on time. So now, already a day behind, I spent the morning of day 2 sanding my floors with this tiny little hand sander, completely stressing out about how I was gonna get this giant project done in only 4 days. But as day turned into night and day 3 was thrust upon me, things started to look up. I'm done! Woo! Yeah, that was a big old pain in the butt, but we managed to get it done, and it looks really good. After celebrating my victory, I had one last step, and that was to stain the floor. I finished this step as quickly as possible, and while the stain dried, I actually headed back to my apartment to begin to move my important things to my room so I could finally begin the fun part. Now, I had spent weeks prior meticulously planning out the layout of my room, and what I ended up with made me pretty happy. So I figured the first order of business was to start working on major furniture pieces, beginning with my desk. Now, the desk had stuck with me through multiple versions of my setup, and every time I've made a new workstation, it seems to shrink, which is the story again here. To fit the corner of my room that I wanted my desk in, I had to lop off about 8 inches of wood. After taking the desk outside and sawing it apart, it became the first of many, many, many pieces in this huge project. A project that, by the way, does have a theme. Recently, I've seen a ton of content surrounding Japandi style interior design, which is a hybrid between Japanese and Scandinavian aesthetics. Everything about the design style looked absolutely beautiful to me, and I really wanted to capture that Japandi theme as much as I could with my room, because frankly, the super bright colors of my old apartment just weren't cutting it. Anywho, all of that being said, the next thing that I did was I put down my first of 2 rugs. This is going to be where my bed goes. I went with a light, simple textured short rug that contrasts the now very dark brown wood floor and the trim of the room in order to brighten things up. Then I started setting up my bed, which you may notice doesn't have a bed frame, but it's intentional. I wanted my bed to be low to the ground and almost feel like a nest, so all I have is a mattress and a box spring. On my mattress, I put sheets made of 100% linen that matches super well with the Japandi theme and helps me not overheat in Louisiana summer. And on top of that, I went the ultra performative route and got a goose feather duvet with a beige and burgundy cover. And honestly, to me, this is my perfect bed setup and infinitely better than the alternative of crashing on the couch. I also put down my smaller rug, a round beige fabric weave rug that will be the basis for a lounge chair. But before I get to that, I wanted to accent this corner and add to that Japanese theme. So I got an artificial Chinese mahonia plant that not only fills up the back corner and adds some texture to an otherwise boring section of the room, but also adds a bit of greenery to the space. I also tried putting my big lava lamp from my previous apartment in this back corner, but decided it didn't really fit later on, so that's why it's there. Now for my next piece, my chair. I wanted something big, cozy, and comfortable that also didn't take up too much space and wasn't too visually obnoxious. So I snatched up this armless lounge chair off of Amazon. Installation was a little difficult, but it eventually came together pretty nicely, and it's super comfy. I also put a small lantern in this corner temporarily to light up the space while I built the other things, like this one-piece unfolding floor table that isn't actually going to be used as a floor table, but rather as a baby shelf for my 1987 Mitsubishi MGA CRT TV that I game on because I'm cool. No, but for real, I do have an authentic GameCube that I plug up to this thing and that I play on somewhat regularly. I'm not performative, you are. Oh, and I put my big IKEA mirror to the right of this. We'll come back to this section of the room later though. Before the end of day 3, I had a few more things that I wanted to do, like putting up a shelf above my bed. I used an old room divider from IKEA underneath to add an accent to the wall, then drill mounted a 56-inch Amazon shelf right above it. I also put one on the other side of the room above where my setup will go. I also wanted to level up my curtain game, so I drilled new mounts for curtain rods as my basic bamboo shutters weren't really doing it for me. These were a big pain to mount and size properly, but once I had it figured out, I put these really nice light linen curtains on the curtain rod. I think these add a ton of texture and depth to the wall without being too visually overbearing, not to mention it makes the room feel that much more more airy and light. Finishing off the big stuff on the bedside of the room, I hung a rice paper lantern above my bed with a Govee smart bulb inside of it. Again, just tripling down on the mid-century Japanese theme. Before the night ended, I also added another curtain to the desk side of my room and started working on my desk. I installed my brand new white Vivo Ultra Duty monitor arm to support my Goliath of a monitor, the Samsung Odyssey Q9 OLED. A $1,500 240 Hz 5120 by 1440p dual QHD OLED monitor, which is absolutely perfect for my day job, which is video editing. Also, while I was recording this segment, I found a plant. I think I'm gonna put it right here on the windowsill. I think that'll look cool. I also threw down my new mousepad from the mousepad company. Not quite sure why it didn't focus on it here, but what? Alongside my 16-inch MacBook Pro M3 Max and a cute little retro flipping clock. I also started decorating with my giant Zion poster, my 100,000 subscriber play button, a keyboard I built a few years ago, and another small poster from Drool. Now on to the fourth and final day. I was down on crunch time to get this done before I officially moved back in. So I started the day in the darkness of the morning by modding my keyboard, a Yunzi AL75 with new, more color appropriate keycaps from Amazon. I love this keyboard to death and I didn't have the budget nor desire to switch it out, but I did want to refresh on my colors, so I switched out the caps to make my desk pop that much more. And next to that, I put down my Logitech MX Master 3S. I also got my mic arm installed and attached my Shure SM7B. I like the low profile arms because they're less obnoxious to move and can be stashed away way easier. And finally, I plugged all of my audio equipment into my Elgato Wave XLR. Then I decorated the area above my desk. I put 3 posters from Drool, color matched to the rest of my room, mounted my Astro Boy tote bag, and also put a few personal trinkets on the shelf above my desk as well, including my Akai MPK Mini Plus keyboard. And that basically wraps up my desk area. I did cable management off screen because, let's be honest, that's pretty boring. Then I shifted my focus to my lounge corner. I put this cool, long, checkered accent pillow on the chair and switched out the placeholder light with a bigger, more robust paper lantern with another RGB bulb. I hung up my Tyler, the Creator albums on the wall as well, then finally placed a sunset lamp behind the chair to cast a cool light up to my ceiling. And now that's another corner of the room completely finished. I also went back to touch up the TV corner. I put another paper lantern on the ceiling, hung up 2 national park posters on the wall, and decorated the rest of the space with some books, another plant, a small lava lamp, and some more personal trinkets. I also put the big lava lamp to the immediate right of my big mirror, finishing off the TV section completely. I also added a few more final touches to the bed portion of the room, that being incense and a few personal items to my tiny shelf, alongside 3 of Hunt Sloanum's bunny paintings above the shelf. I'm done. That was a bitch. Now I'm going to show you the finished product in a second, but I wanted to say a few tiny things before I show you everything, so slow your roll. Shit. This project was a giant pain in the butt, but I think it turned out really, really good. So if you're feeling so inclined, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe, maybe leave a comment. I don't know. That'd be awesome, I think. I'm going to go take a nap because I'm kind of tired. This has been a lot. Here's the finished product. Enjoy.